Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you enjoy today's video. I am taking you through everything that I have canned or freeze-dried from my garden this summer, as well as some things that I get from the farmer's market. I apologize for the lighting down here. We're in my basement. It's a very rainy, dreary day, but I was not about to haul all of this upstairs because I keep it over here in my storage room. So I just wanted to do this video for you today to show you what it looks like to can some of your harvest, preserve some of your harvest in a different way, and just to give you some ideas of different canning recipes that you might want to try. So I'm going to bring you in closer so you can actually see what's going on here. We've already eaten through a lot of stuff. We eat fresh from my garden all summer long, all harvest long. So this basically is just the extra of what we don't eat, and I preserve it. So let me bring you in closer so that you can see what recipes I have done. We are going to start here on the end with the freeze-dried stuff. Now, I don't grow sweet corn. I don't have the room for it. And quite honestly, we get sweet corn from the farmer's market that we go to, and we get it in big bushel baskets. So this whole white container here is full of freeze-dried corn. Now, I did this with my parents, so some of this is theirs. We're just keeping it at my house. But this is a lot of corn in one bag. I can't remember how many bushels we did, but it was a lot. Then over here, I just have a couple of bags of shredded zucchini that I thought were going to be extra that I wouldn't go through this year, so I put it in long-term food storage. We have some freeze-dried apples that I did earlier in the year. Blueberries. I froze the rest of them because this is not my preferred way of doing anything freeze-dried. I don't think blueberries come out very well at all. Then I have lots of tart cherries. I make cherry pies, cherry cobblers, and so berries are just really hard in the freeze dryer if you've ever tried it, but I have a ton of cherries. So every bag like this will get me 2 recipes of cherries because my recipes take about 3 cups of cherries per recipe. So those are just more apples. Now, the freeze-dried food in the jars here, this is what I'm just going to be using. So we don't eat corn as a side, unless it's corn on the cob. None of us really prefer it that way. So this is what I use in recipes. So I have a couple more up there. That's probably all the corn that I'm going to need for my recipes. Instead of freezing my zucchini this year, I freeze-dried it, and I much prefer it this way. Zucchini gets super watery in the freezer, which is fine. You can use it in recipes, but I don't love it taking up all that room in my freezer. So I have a bunch of zucchini and summer squash, all freeze-dried, and all I have to do is add a little bit of warm water to it and let it sit, and then I can drain it and use it in recipes like I would. So my green beans did not do fantastic this year. We ate a ton of them out of the garden, but it didn't leave much left over for preserving. I thought I was going to love them freeze-dried. We do not love them freeze-dried. The texture is very weird, so we much prefer canned green beans. But my green beans didn't do great. Okay, coming around the front here. So I have just started, I can never use a whole bunch of green onions at one time. So this is green onions that I keep upstairs in my pantry just for recipes. Some more little things of zucchini and summer squash. And then this is green pepper. My peppers did really well this year. And so I made up a pepper mix, like I could use this in jambalaya. That would be fantastic. So all of this stuff's gonna live upstairs in my pantry that I go through quite often. This is like soup mix. It's carrots, onion, and celery. So that's pretty much what I have freeze-dried this harvest. Now let's get into the canned stuff. I made the best applesauce this year, and I think what made it so good was using literally a year-old apples that I had in my downstairs fridge. They were starting to go soft. We had to cut out bad parts, but it made the best applesauce. So I plan on doing that again. We've already eaten some of it, and I don't have a ton. We don't eat a ton of applesauce, but I plan on doing more of that. My green beans didn't do great, but my tomatoes did fantastic this year. So you're gonna see a lot of tomato products. So I have salsa that I've done for the first time. It's a little watery, which we don't mind. We actually don't like super thick, chunky salsa. Next year though, I will cook down the tomatoes a little bit more to get some more of the water out of them before I add. I just use the Mrs. Wages seasoning packet and I love it. So I will be doing that again. I have a ton of salsa verde here. Some of it is with my tomatillos, some of it is with green tomatoes, and we have a ton of it. Now, the only thing I did not grow to go in this were the onions, and I got a giant bag of onions at my farmer's market, and that's what I used basically for all of these tomato recipes. I think it was like $13 for a giant bag of onions, so very cost effective. All of this is, you can't see because of the glare, spaghetti sauce. Really thick, good spaghetti sauce. I'm very pleased with it. That goes here. We've already used some of it. Now, Jalea and I love this pickled coleslaw recipe. And I did have some of my own cabbages, but I also got cabbages from the farmer's market. So I'm definitely going to be growing more cabbages next year so that I can do this. And I haven't also been very successful with carrots. I might try that again because then I really would have everything I would need. I wouldn't have to buy stuff. I could just grow it. Did you know that if you have leftover brine, you can can it up? And so I have 2 jars of brine. So if I want to make up some more pickled coleslaw, I already have the brine for it, so that's a handy little tip. I've not done many potatoes because these are store-bought potatoes, and I plan on just buying a 10-pound bag every month in my grocery shopping to can up. So I've just started doing that. I'm a terrible potato grower. I don't know why I can't grow potatoes, but I have not been successful yet. So another thing that did fantastic were my cucumbers. So we've already eaten some of them and given some of them away, but I have a bunch of, these are all dill. So the big cucumbers that got away from me, I did like hamburger slices. And then all of them I usually just do in kind of these thick chunks. That's how we prefer it. Sometimes I will do relish with it, but I actually like to use zucchini for dill relish. It tastes the same. So other than the hamburger slices, they are all in these like thick chunks. And that's all my own garlic in there. And so the only thing I had to buy for this was the dill, because I was not successful at dill this year either. But I would love to be able to grow everything to do the pickles. And I use the sun pickle method. So you use hot brine and then stick it out in the sun for 3 days and the jar seals itself. There's so much salt and vinegar in here. I still have jars that are 3 years old. They just the texture gets a little softer, but they're all still completely fine. So this was an experiment. I actually prefer the store canned chicken to my own canned chicken, but that was an experiment, and with the price of chicken now, this was not cheaper to can my own, and I like the canned stuff from the store better, so I will not be doing this again unless the price of chicken comes down. I did a bunch of pulled smoked pork this summer, and so with the extra, I canned that up, so this will taste really good in the winter when we're just wanting it to taste like the summer. Now, the only jellies I did this year, I had teeny tiny little peaches on my peach tree, and I had enough for one pie filling that I did, which is in the freezer. Then with all of the pits and the skins, I make peach jelly. This is my favorite jelly. Peach jelly on a homemade buttermilk biscuit is like the best. And we actually didn't go strawberry picking this year. I do have strawberries, and there are some of my own strawberries in here, but I had a bunch in the freezer from last year that I needed to get used up. So next year we will definitely have to go strawberry picking. But I did a couple different kinds. I did some with honey this year. I did some regular with just regular cane sugar. And then I also experimented with some stevia sweetened. This obviously tastes very natural and just like strawberries. My family prefers just the regular old jam, which is why I did it for them. And then this will be for me when I'm being really strict with Trim Healthy Mama and want to keep it no sugar. I just did tomato soup. It didn't go fantastically. You can tell from the jar, a lot of it. I had a lot of seepage, which happens sometimes to me with tomato products. So if you have some suggestions, let me know. I did the proper headspace. I debubbled the jar. So I don't know, but it tastes really good. So everything in here is from my own growing except for carrots and onions. All the tomatoes, all the garlic, all the spices, everything. Oh, I forgot to bring my dried herbs down here. That's okay. I do a bunch of herbs from my garden too, and I just dry those and keep those in jars. This is chicken broth, which this is always a work in progress. So anytime we have chicken with bones, I make up more chicken broth, and I'm constantly using it. So this is just what I happen to have on the shelf right now. Then, last but not least, I did French onion soup this year. Turned out delicious, and I did it in little pints so that they're like little individual servings. Make some homemade croutons with some cheese, and it's a fantastic lunch, especially in the winter. Well, that does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I gave you some ideas. If I can find some of the canning recipes that I used, I will link them down below. But lots of times I just like follow the processing times and kind of make my own recipe with it. So do your research. Don't do as I do if you're not comfortable doing that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you can down below in the comments because I love to find new recipes. And we will see you in the next video. Bye!